Hello and welcome to Module 2 of PA 460. You made it through the first one okay, I hope. And now we're on to week 2, Module 2. As you can see from last week, things move very quickly, so it's important to stay ahead of things, your readings, all of the assignment, due dates, etc. So several things to do this week, similar to last week. And you can see here's the video that is this video, or it's going to be. And then you have, just like last week, everything you have to do written out here in the list and overview. This is my first week back from COVID, so if my voice starts to give out a little bit, I apologize. 3 weeks of hell, but it could have been worse. So you didn't get rid of me so easily yet, but doing well, good to be back to the land of the living here. So first part, the part 1 is going to be chapter 3, and that's understanding public policy making. The part 2 is going to be introduction to policy analysis, so that's chapter 4. So within the part 1, it's always the same. You're going to have to read the chapter. There's a couple videos to watch, and there's the important one this week, instruments of public policy. I'll get to why that's important in a second. For the part 2, you have the policy analysis questions. This is good to give you context regarding policy analysis, how to approach and think about a question to approach policy analysis. And then we have our usual, short videos regarding think tanks and should they be trusted and all that good stuff. The discussion we have this week, similar to last week, similar format, meaning you have to type in your response, and then you'll see everyone else's responses, and then you have to respond to someone else for maximum credit. And then you have exercise 2, instruments of public policy. And this is where you really should watch the lecture first, and then you also have an instruments of public policy document to download and keep handy and use, please use during the exercise. I want you to learn the material, and I want you to use the tools that I give you so that you do well. Reading quiz 2, similar. It's this time on chapters 3 and 4. And let's go through the module. So right here, part 1, you've read chapter 3 first in the ebook. Then you have this material here. This is a summary. The ebook, reading the text is important because it gives you context for the material, so it helps you to understand. Repetition is always good. There'll be some redundancy in repetition, but repetition with context helps to master the material. So you will go through here. You will watch this video, which again will help you contextually. And then you will see the the policy process model. This is table 3.1 from the text. There's 2 models in this module, one in chapter 3, one in chapter 4. This is the policy process model. Know the difference between the two. In this one, this is set up for basically the process through the legislative system. So this is the political, structural, legislative process. And then in the next chapter, it's the analysis process. So you're seeing, analyzing a policy, seeing, what to do, how to measure it, if it's working. It's different. But know the difference between these two. Know all the material. I won't go through each like that. Here is the Instruments of Public Policy lecture. Make sure to watch that. And the reason being is that there's lots of instruments of public policy. There's lots of vernacular around public policy from different disciplines. And for the simplicity of this course, I want you to learn it this way. And so for all of the assignments, don't just Google something and then that may give you a different vernacular for a certain instrument of public policy. Always refer back to what I have in the lecture and then what I've listed here. This is just going to make it easy. So for example, taxing and spending here means are you creating a tax specific to fund the project, not just taxing and spending in general, because that could be pretty much anything. So make sure, watch the video, download this document, understand the differences with these instruments. And instruments basically means this is what the government can do to address an issue. And then use that sheet. Yes, you're not in trouble for using it before, while you're doing the exercise. So here we have part 2, and you watch another video which gives you context. You have this is the steps in the policy analysis process, so it's a little bit different from the earlier, which is more of legislative. This is more, we're analyzing a problem and we want to come up with a way to address it. And then you have different types of policy analysis, and that's scientific, professional, and political. Obviously, scientific would be the most rigorous. And then what are think tanks and can they be trusted? These are all, that's short. You will have your discussion. You watch the TED Talk. I would read the question first before watching it. How might racism lead to bad policymaking? This week, it's fairly open-ended question. But what I'm looking for, is I was looking for last week and in subsequent weeks, is are you using examples from the TED Talk presentation? If you do use those examples, then I know that you've actually watched it. And this isn't just some, rant, of your own. So for me, I want to make sure you're watching the material and you can apply the material. So make sure to use examples from the TED Talk for maximum credit. Once you post, this will be Thursday night, the same like last week, by midnight. Then you're able to see other students' posts, and then you have to comment on one other student, and make sure to compare and contrast what they said, so that I know you're not just typing in, hey, that's great, or something like that. Just a little more substance, and to get the maximum credit. And that's by Saturday for, the student's post, Thursday for your post. So here we have instruments of public policy. That is the, you're given basically some examples, scenarios, and then you put what's the best instrument of public policy based on that scenario or statement, and use the sheet. Watch the things, the lecture first, review the sheet first. And then you have your chapter quiz. Make sure you read the material, like I said last week, because a lot of times these quizzes, not a lot of times, every time, will have specific references to the text itself, so that I know that you're actually reading it and not just looking through the module at the basic terms. So there's some context there with the text. And that is it for this week. If you have any questions, concerns, please feel free to email me. And I am excited to read your posts again. They're always interesting. And I will see you next week.